Everybody Googles everything, especially potential customers or employers, and a business or personal online reputation can make or break you. If negative search results or reviews are impacting you, Webamax is here to help. Our proven process restores your online reputation quickly and effectively, and it matters. Don't let negative results control your narrative. Visit GoWebamax.com and fill out a brief confidential form to see how we can help. Remember, if you aren't paying attention to your online reputation, someone else is. GoWebamax.com.
We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become?
Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
And welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Skating Penguin Network. We're just going to talk some hockey here today. Nothing really on set in stone, no real agenda here. Once again, joined by Snail out in Seattle. A beautiful day out his way. He said beautiful day here in Western PA. Basically, I mean, if you're going to draw up a weather day like your perfect weather day, I think this kind of weather, 70 degrees, maybe a light breeze, no clouds, sun shining, that'd be probably about the perfect weather day, I'd say, about for about 99% of people out there, Snail.
Oh, dude, yeah. Today is like, there's like a light, very light breeze. The sun is really warm. It's not humid at all, though, at least out here. It's just like, this is like good golfing weather. Or like,
it's just
a good day at the ballpark, a nice day to just take a stroll around your block. If you have a nice neighborhood you can walk around in, go take the dog for a walk or something. This is just one of those prime days. It's cool that we kind of have the same weather, but ours unfortunately is changing tomorrow, back to rain, but enjoy it while you can.
Absolutely, I agree with that. It's about the perfect weather day. I heard a lot of lawnmowers running today.
Me too. There's like 3 of them in my neighborhood right now.
Just everybody was mowing their lawn today. It's supposed to get a little bit warmer tomorrow, but overall looking like a nice weekend here in Western PA. I haven't really checked the radar, but hopefully it stays nice. We can get one nice weekend in here before. It is May 31st, so by the time you hear this, it will be June. We will be entering the midway point of 2024. Not much Penguins news this week. Pretty quiet overall. One thing I think to touch on, Bryan Rust was talking. He did a Twitch interview, I believe it was, and just because, I don't know, I didn't think he said anything that was completely out of the ordinary or controversial. He basically said the big takeaway was he said he thinks if the Penguins would have made the playoffs, they would have beat the New York Rangers in round 1. I don't know if I was that confident. I love the confidence from Bryan Rust. I really do. I love that. I don't know if I was not that confident, but I am confident in saying they would have had a better showing than the Washington Capitals in that first round series. They take a game, maybe steal a second, but people made a huge thing about it because, I mean, the Penguins obviously did not have the look of a team that was going to take down the Rangers. But I will say the way they would have been playing if they had been making the playoffs, coming in red hot, I mean, it's not wild to think that they, at the very least, the very minimum, would have had a better showing than the Washington Capitals.
I mean, like, I have no problems with anything he said whatsoever. If you just Google, which I just did, I had already read into this. I think if you're, it made headlines everywhere. But if you look at the headlines, every Sports Illustrated, Trib Live, Pennsburg, Forever Blue Shirts, DK Pittsburgh Sports, Sportsnet Canada, they all have headlines. And I don't know. It's like you want players to speak their mind more and be more open and have personality. And then this happens and everyone's pretty much just like slamming Bryan Rust to kind of shut up. And it's like, first of all, I agree with some of the stuff he said too. Like, to your point, Robbie, the way that they were playing down the stretch, no one would want to play the Penguins in the first round. Like, going deep on a run, iffy. The goaltending, who knows? Yeah. You know, it was Nedeljkovic was Bernie Lomack in there just being propped up. Yeah. But I mean, I think what he was trying to say is that they were the best team in hockey coming down the last month of the season. Were they not?
They were. I mean, they went 8 or 7, 1-1 in 7 or 6, 1-2 in that final month. And that final game meant basically nothing. Like, who knows if that game on the island would have meant something? They would have played it completely differently. It would have obviously been a much different scenario there. But yeah, I mean, they at one point had points in their first 6 games of the month before losing to Boston. They did have the OT loss to Toronto in there, but still got a necessary point they needed in that game. They were playing really good hockey coming into.
Bryan Rust was also on fire too. Sidney Crosby was God mode.
Yes.
Like, what do you want your player to say? Like, Bryan Rust has confidence in this team. He has confidence in himself. He was on a heater at the end of the year. And the Penguins historically have had the Rangers number. We all know what happened in 22. Trouba's a dirty rat. And if it wasn't for him, and that Lindgren is Wolverine, he just kept coming back. He would not go down no matter how injured he got. Game 7s are a coin flip, and they lost in OT when Panarin decided to show up for the fourth period of the game. So we all know, we all have our opinions on how that series would have went. And as Penguins fans, and I would say the majority of people out there had the Penguins beating the Rangers in 6 or 7.
It would have been I think it would have been entertaining. Again, Shesterkin, you just never know when he's on, and he's been on pretty much this entire run they've been on. So yeah, he gets in there and makes things extremely difficult, but it's not they definitely make a better showing than the Capitals, who were absolutely dreadful in that series.
I didn't even watch a game. I don't think I watched a full game of that series.
That was a bad series, a really bad series. But then you have, I mean, you just don't know. The way Crosby was playing, if they get enough help, you just don't know. If Nedeljkovic, like you said, he would have been on basically in traction the entire. I mean, he would have been getting IVs like in between periods, maybe in between TV timeouts. He would have been getting a needle in his arm. But again, this just gave people an ammo for the dumbest possible reasons. The Rangers fans completely lost their minds about it, despite being in the middle of an Eastern Conference final. They all had opinions because they can never shut up. One thing that Bryan Rust did say that I think everybody can agree with, he verbatim, our power play was absolute trash all year.
I think he actually said ass, didn't he?
It's quoted as trash.
Oh, it's trash. I thought I saw one that said our power play was ass, but unless that was somewhere else, that's even funnier. But it's quoted as trash. So either way,
yeah. But that is actually as honest as honest of a opinion on the Penguins power play from anybody that plays for the Penguins that I've heard maybe ever. I mean, you always hear we're doing this right. We just need to shoot the puck more. We got to get better puck movement. Blah blah blah.
The old someone putting the onus on them. I need to be better. I think we all can look at each other and say we need to be better. Bryan Rust just is like, sucked. The power play sucked.
Yeah, and he was as straightforward as you can possibly be, and refreshing to hear. Obviously, even now, great to hear a player be like, "Listen, this sucked. We know it. It was awful." And it's very very honest and refreshing to hear from a guy that's actually on the team, because we can sit on camera all day and say that it sucks, it's ass, it's trash, whatever. It doesn't really mean anything. But the players to take some responsibility there and actually see it and just be like, yeah, it was awful all year, and it's quite refreshing. So.
Ninja getting the scoops, like Bryan Rust gave a better interview to Ninja probably while playing Fortnite than any of the writers and guys in Pittsburgh media scrums can get from these players.
That's such a random person to interview too for Ninja,
dude,
like
for
of
real.
all the people, it was Bryan Rust. There's a lot of hockey players that I'm assuming are also gamers, and Bryan Rust just happened to be the one that was being interviewed. It just felt really random, but it was good to see. Rust does a pretty good interview, so yeah, it was fun to see and watch and kind of get that take on the Penguins.
Yeah,
season.
absolutely. I just I don't. I was like hoping that this wouldn't turn into a bigger deal, but I mean, if you look on the internet, just within the last 24 hours, there's so many headlines regarding it. But I want to know how this happened. Did like Rust reach out to Ninja? Is Ninja like a secret Penguins fan and reached out to Bryan Rust? Maybe he was on Team Rust for 30 goals this year too, or like was it just like did Rusty's agent be like, you should go on with this guy? And I don't know. I'm just so curious as to how it happened.
There has to be some kind of like, I don't know. There's like no explanation how it happened. Exactly. I can't pull up the full interview right now, unfortunately. But I'm assuming there was some kind of.
Oh, I got it. I think I put the pieces together. So Rust and Ninja are both from Michigan. Detroit. They're both from like outside of Detroit.
Okay, so if Ninja is familiar all with hockey, he probably is familiar with Bryan Rust if they're both from the Detroit, Michigan area. So definitely possible that way as well. It sounds so much better to hear Bryan Rust come out and say, I think we could have beat the Rangers rather than, we would have got swept too. Like, imagine that would have been like getting kicked in the balls again after getting kicked in the balls at the end of the season. Like,
oh yeah, it's very similar.
Even after you'd stood back up and healed, just getting roundhoused by another kick right in the groin 6 weeks later, that would have sucked. I mean, I'm glad that Russ was honest and said that. Yeah, I think we could have beat him. Absolutely. Crosby would never be that matter of fact. I don't think Crosby would. He's just not that kind of interviewer.
He's too stoic.
Russ is just like, we could have beat him. Absolutely.
I love it. And I also, the last thing I'll say about the whole Rangers comment too is that Shesterkin won the Vezina that year that the Penguins played them, and they chased him twice with like 2 7-goal games. So like, and I think this year when they played the Rangers, I think Quick got 2 of the 3 starts or something. So, and they couldn't beat Quick, I don't think. But anyways, I see what I mean. If we see it as fans that the Penguins have somehow been able to solve Shesterkin in the past, it's not like crazy for if we see that Rust is like, we've solved him in the past, and they were on a heater of all heaters at going down the stretch there. So I love it. I'm happy. I'm hyped to see that. I'm glad that it wasn't like the notorious gamer like Patrick Laine going on or something like that. Just it's cool.
Maybe Russ does secretly game a lot. Like, these guys in their downtime, they all talk about like how much they love gaming. They all carry mobile devices on road trips and stuff. So who knows how much these guys actually do game? We just don't see it. So maybe he's played with Ninja before. Maybe
they run duos.
Maybe they do. Maybe they are in a COD lobby at 3:00 in the morning yelling at 10-year-olds. Like,
Russ, like, okay, one more. I got a game tomorrow.
Yeah. When he doesn't play well, that's how you know.
That's what it is. It's not the fact that he had a child. It's just that he's been running duos with Ninja.
Boy.
Dude, quickly before we get to like the playoffs and stuff right now, do you follow The Athletic? Like, do you subscribe to them?
I do.
So I do too, and they will not let this Babcock stuff die.
Yeah, I saw that there was a piece out today.
Yep.
About basically what happened in Columbus and his fall from grace, and I'm just like, I don't even care, honestly. Like, I don't have anything left to really any energy really to put back into it.
I like how the very last thing was they asked Babs if he had been approached recently about working with any NHL clubs, and Babcock just declined to answer. And it's like, dude, no shit. Like, no, that guy is like just mega toxic right now. But I was curious. I read it, and I was kind of curious. Like Frankie Corrado, former Penguin for a brief stint, was featured in it. A lot of people still remaining unnamed. I actually used to be a Team Babcock guy. Like I used to want Babcock to coach Pittsburgh once upon a time. I thought, get the band back together from the 2010 Olympics.
Yeah.
But Penguins got 2 cups. It's neither here nor there, and who knows what kind of debauchery would have happened. Had he been coached, I would have hated for him to leave, and there be, you never know what state the team would be in now with people just being uncomfortable and leaving or something. But I thought it was an interesting read, and I just think it's so funny that we've heard all the stories a million times. Madonna not getting, what was it, like 1,500 games. Chelios being scratched in the Winter Classic.
Yeah.
Just dumb mind games like that, which I think are stupid. I'm not for that, but they will not let this go. Every year, if someone needs a content piece, just bring up some stuff, interview a player who once played for Babcock and get some more quotes about how he treated people. They could once a year. It's like a holiday every year. Just bring up the Babcock story again.
Yeah. Yeah, it just so repetitive at this point. Like, we get it. It didn't. Yeah, I mean, it's repetitive. And again, I don't know what grip Mike Babcock has on these writers. Like Mike Babcock, he gets this reputation as like this great coach. After winning the Cup in 2008, he made it past the second round once, and that was the very next year when he went back to the Cup with the Red Wings and lost. Like, he did not make the conference finals since then. And it's been 15 years now. So,
yeah. Canada won't, it's just, he got the golds in Canada. I think that carries a lot of weight with NHL writers. Yeah. I see that his fall from grace was actually like word for word written. And it's like, yeah, his fall from grace was over the span of like, he won the gold in 2010 and then
2014 too.
2014. And then by 2014, he wasn't making cup runs anymore anyways. And he was exiting the first round every year with the Leafs, like not that long after that. So it's like, I don't know. It's just, like you said, it's just kind of funny. I don't know why he still had such a stranglehold on some of these writers.
Yeah, it's just annoying. But yeah, I guess they needed some content. Should have saved it for next
time
week.
Of year.
Yeah, should have saved it for next week before the finals started. But
dude, did you see that the finals schedule?
Man, that's brutal. How? Brutal.
It's going to be almost July by the time they hand out the cup.
Literally, they're going to win. The cup's going to be awarded, and free agency literally starts less than a week later.
Yeah, like 6 days later or something like that. It's insane.
Insane. It's. Oh, yeah,
and I'd be pissed if I was a player, man. Like, if you think about it, July, August, September training camps start, and then October the season starts. You
basically get 2.5 months off.
It's like summer vacation for schools.
Yeah, except you beat your body up for 10 months out of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of rigorous travel away from your families. I don't know. They need. Who would vote on that to change that? Would that be like the CBA? Would that be like the Players Association? Like,
I would assume there would have to be some kind of discussions in the next CBA. Like, hey, the season has to end by June 15th, or something like that. But like, it's just gotten. I remember like the year the Penguins in 16 and 17. The first game of the Stanley Cup final was on Memorial Day. We are now past Memorial Day, and we don't even have a final set yet.
No, I know. I think it's ridiculous. I remember, Robbie, do you remember when it used to be handed out? The cup was handed out like, Memorial Day, essentially. Like
right around, like the Penguins won on June 11th and 12th, I believe. But they actually, before 92, I think the Penguins actually played the first ever game in June in 1992. I think they were in June 1st was the first ever game. It was game 4 of that Stanley Cup final, and they won to sweep the Blackhawks. And that was the first ever game in June. And now we're talking about a Stanley Cup being awarded as late as June 30th, June 24th, a week and a half before the 4th of July. That is not nearly enough time to prepare to celebrate America properly.
Dude, no, hell no, it's not. And if you think about it, what if you're a free agent and you win the cup and it's like you got to move, like you got to get done with the cup, and you're like, I need to pack up all my shit. I have 3 kids, I have a wife, I need to figure out where I'm going, and then the 4th of July is coming up, and it's like that's a holiday. And then I think Canada Day is right around.
That's not real.
I know, not for us, but like a lot of players are Canadian, so they're like, hey, we got to go to. Where do the Canadians go up in Canada? Lake Ontario or something, or like?
They go. I mean, they're up in
their cottages.
Yeah, up in their cottages where it's probably still snowing.
Yeah,
still
a little chilly.
The draft is on the 28th.
That's ridiculous.
I mean,
if you're a coach, if you're a front office, are you flying from the Stanley Cup final just directly to Vegas?
Yeah, because I mean, the final can't be in Vegas this year, so. I mean, you're gonna have to. I mean,
what, you touch down for 2 days at home and actually get some sleep and rest, and then
if you win the cup on the road, let's say Dallas wins it in Florida. I mean, on the 24th, like until you get out of there, you're not gonna get home till the 25th. Parades, celebrations, you're gonna basically go right from cup celebration. You might just show up with a tie tied around your forehead, like I mean, that's ridiculous. That's insane.
No, that's like also like, dude, some of those coaches or GMs, whoever has to kind of show up, they might be like severely banged up, I guess, just to put it lightly. Like if you're going from cup winning to cup celebration to cup parade to the draft that's in Las Vegas, like you're gonna see a couple GMs with the IVs hooked up in the bag of saline next to them.
I mean, Vegas hosting the draft for a cup-winning team, even a cup-losing team, because they might be drinking their sorrows away. They might be busted up too.
Yeah, maybe even more busted up than the celebratory team.
But I mean, man, I saw that schedule came out, and I'm like, dude, especially if like these series could end on Sunday, like we could go basically 6 days without any games, and after having a game basically every day for the past 2 months, it's gonna that sucks, but. That's the schedule is. You don't need, if you're going from Florida to Dallas, you don't need 2 days. You really, of all the teams left, Edmonton sucks, but you don't need the 2 travel. Like you don't need the 2 travel days anymore.
Florida and Edmonton final, I could reason with that.
Yeah, that I could, but Florida and Dallas, no way would I. No, that's like you can drive that. Like
you're on a Spirit airline for 2 hours.
You're on some budget airline just getting from Fort Lauderdale to Dallas. Like you don't need 2 days off to make that journey. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
It is. I feel bad for the players too. Like I know that they make a lot of money, but they don't make any money in the playoffs, really, right? Aren't they like?
Technically, this is all like it's all based on your bonuses. Now, basically, your contract is only for 82 games.
Right.
Basically, anything now is just whatever bonuses you agree to in your contract, like. Going to a certain round, winning the cup, scoring so many goals and stuff like that. But yeah, now it's basically you're just playing if you have bonuses in your contract. It's basically what you're getting paid. So
yeah,
I mean, you don't have
the financial incentive is pretty much nothing in the playoffs, and it's like I feel bad for them because that's 2 days in between. I don't know. Have they done that in recent years?
I know the Penguins the year they were in San Jose were 2 games in between.
It was
1 and 2 were a day between. 2 and 3 were 2 days. 3 and 4 were a day, and then it was 2 every time they had to travel. It was 2 days in between.
Oh, okay. So maybe that kind of sounds familiar, but
yeah,
maybe because of COVID throwing things off the last few years.
Yeah.
Maybe it was different, but either way, sucks. Even as a person who loves watching hockey all the time, it's like, dude, come on, like.
Yeah, make it every other man alive. That's getting a little ridiculous.
We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become? Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
Little ridiculous.
All right, now for the series, we'll start in the East here. We have Florida. They win Game 5 in the Garden in New York City. They lead this series 3-2 going back home on Saturday night. And right now, 5-on-5, the Rangers have absolutely no answer for the Florida Panthers. Florida is just hammering them at even strength. Igor Shesterkin, the only thing really keeping these games close at this point. But right now, Florida is rolling, and they have to feel good going back to Florida with this series lead in hand and a chance to bury the Rangers once and for all. And right now, they just feels like they're kind of inevitable during these games. It just feels like they go on these runs where it's just tough to keep up with. And unless the rest of the Rangers can get on the power play, they get in trouble really quickly.
Totally. And right now, what's killing them is the obvious thing, I think, is that the Florida's depth scoring. Like, they're getting contributions from every line, and it's the big guys for New York haven't been showing up, which isn't that rare for guys like Mika Zibanejad and Artemi Panarin. Right now, I think one of the only reasons that they're even have made it this far is Vincent Trocheck, Pittsburgh native. He's like their guy right now. I think he's the most noticeable. He's playing true playoff hockey. Zibanejad, I think he got a puck on net and it tipped. You're not getting anything from Zibanejad. Yeah. And Panarin, I mean, I don't get what's up with him. It feels like every playoff the Rangers have been making in the last few years, the big topic is like, where's Artemi Panarin? Like, regular season guy, he'll get you there, but he doesn't really help get them through hardly ever. I mean, he helped get them through the Penguins with an overtime winner that one year, but I don't know. As a Rangers fan, you got to be disappointed because your big guys aren't helping you get it done. And yeah, the Florida Panthers are they're hitting everything that moves, finishing every check, playing extremely physical, but their skills coming through. And I think everyone's kind of pulling on the same rope, and that's why they're up in the series.
Yeah, I mean, everything Florida does. I mean, Gustav Forsling on the blue line has been an absolute revelation.
Dude, where did that guy come from?
I have no idea, but I mean, low key, I mean, if they can win the cup, I think he has a conversation for the Conn Smythe the way he's been playing.
I wouldn't disagree with that at all.
Sasha Barkov has been absolutely just everywhere for the Panthers, and it feels like, for years he was always voted the most underrated player by his fellow players. And it still feels like he's finally coming into that, like, this guy is like a top 10 NHL player right now.
He reminds me of old Kopitar.
Yeah. He's very prime Kopitar type. Maybe a little bit better of a scorer, but the dude, he just won the Selke, just completely erases opponents from series, just completely erases them. And just the top to bottom, that Florida team just so deep. They're terrifying. We haven't even talked about Matthew Tkachuk at all. Like, I mean,
or 57 goal scorer Sam Reinhart,
who won Game 4. Carter Verhaeghe, just
Captain Clutch for them.
Just an insane amount of depth there, and it's just becoming too much for the Rangers. And Shesterkin, if you can just get 2 or 3, it really becomes tough for the Rangers, and it's kind of what it. Yeah,
Bob's making the saves he needs to as well. He's playing like, I guess playoff Bob now. I guess this is what he does. He gets through the regular season, and then he kind of goes God mode in the playoffs. And
the way that the Florida plays in front of him, he doesn't have to go save for save with Shesterkin. He has to make the saves he needs to make, and they eventually 2 or 3 goals, and they shut everything down. Then it's pretty much a work of art when he's out there.
And like looking at their blue lines too, I always have my eye on that Montour. Montour has got to be one of my favorite players that's not a Penguin in the league.
Yeah.
Dude's got bite. plays with jam. He has an amazing offensive touch, right shot D, and former first overall pick Aaron Ekblad. Yep, he still is in the league. He's back there on the blue line playing a pretty good role for them as well still. Oliver Ekman-Larsson was like a number one D-man power play guy for years. I'm pretty sure he's like a second or third pairing left shot guy now. Yep. And he's scoring and contributing too. He's kind of found the fountain of youth down there in Florida. Forsling has been a revelation for them. No idea where he came from. I think he was kind of looking for work at one point, and then they signed him, and he's a gamer. He's got a wicked shot. It's just I just don't see how the Rangers can overcome this unless their team just all of a sudden synced up. But I think that their puck mover, what was his name? Adam Fox?
Yep.
I think he's hurt. He's not out there really shaking and jiving like he does in the regular season. That Lindgren,
yeah, Ryan.
Lindgren, that guy, he every year in the playoffs, he looks like he just rose from the grave. He is always so banged and battered up.
Yeah, he comes out taped in like 4 ice bags. It just looks absolutely just like he went to war. But those are the guys you need.
Oh, so. Yeah. He's like a Chris Tanev who, I don't know if you're ready to move on to that, but Chris Tanev, big piece for the Dallas Stars, big trade he was going to be like the trade deadline piece out of all of them this year. And he's in a walking boot at the airport.
Yeah. So we can switch over to the West here, and we have another banger series. Both series have been bangers, and Edmonton, this game 4, so by the time this comes out, they will have played game 5 in that series. Somebody will have an advantage going back to Edmonton. But I will say, watching this game the other night, when Dallas went up 2-0 in the first 5 minutes, I was like, all right, 5-game series. Edmonton, the juice is out.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Stuart Skinner is just not it, not against Ottinger. And they come back. They score, I believe, 5 unanswered in this game. And again, Chris Tanev goes down injured, pictured in a walking boot at the airport. I have a hard time believing they're not just going to juice him up with every horse tranquilizer they can get in the greater Dallas area.
Probably a lot of it there too.
Yes, whatever they give them, those big cows to move them, whatever they give them is going to be bulls. Just straight into his foot, ankle, whatever it is. I have a hard time believing he won't be on the ice, but you don't know how effective he will be. Being that he was pictured in a walking boot about 24 hours ago. But this credit to Edmonton. They will not die. I still like Dallas in the series, but credit to Edmonton for at least giving us 6 games, and it should be a very exciting 6 games. Edmonton still, the Stuart Skinner, obviously, if you're ranking the goalies left, is probably at the bottom, but the offensive firepower, when it comes alive, Evan Bouchard, probably your Conn Smythe leader right now for Edmonton. Leon Draisaitl, who is just built for this time of year. McDavid has like 25 assists.
I know, it's crazy.
Nobody talks about, like, what are we doing?
He has like 27 points in, like, it's been the playoffs so far, which is insane.
Bouchard has been an absolute treat. Obviously, issues with Darnell Nurse, who has just been absolutely having a struggle for playoffs, but they won't die. And you're getting one more at home, whether you're up in the series or not. So credit to them. And it's been a very entertaining series. It just not gone as I expected. I really thought once Dallas went up 2-0, they were going to put that game on ice. I know it was early, but it just felt like it was completely Dallas's game. But mad credit to Edmonton for fighting back and keeping this a series.
No, totally. I still think that Dallas is the team that's going to come out of this. I am kind of starting to lean a little bit towards, I want Canada to have, I would like it to be like a US versus Canada type feel to the Stanley Cup. I don't count the one in the bubble with Montreal. That was just so weird. I don't care.
That wasn't even the bubble. That was the next full season. That's when they only played Canadian teams.
Oh, okay, so yeah, the
bubble
next year
was the bubble was Dallas.
The bubble was Dallas. Then yeah, okay, so the year after that, when they did the Canadian division, I just thought that was so goofy. It just doesn't sound right. The Canadians versus the Lightning
Very weird.
It was a shortened season. Anyways, I don't want to piss off too many people because I know there's a lot of. I love how people are like, there's no asterisk for the Stanley Cup Finals that were won. Tampa won back to back, but then everything else they're like, yeah, but that was that year. It doesn't really count. And I'm just like, well, what is it? You got to pick one or the other. But, anyways, I kind of like the idea of like an Edmonton, Florida.
Very weird matchup, a very bizarre matchup. Like the last time Edmonton was in a Cup final, hockey in Florida was a long away. I mean, nobody was thinking about that. It was, Tampa Bay wasn't even in the league yet. Florida wasn't even in the league yet. Yeah, that's just a very distant thought. But like Dallas, obviously,
Edmonton went to the Cup final in 2006, didn't they?
I forgot about that.
It was the most forgettable Stanley Cup final, I swear.
That's right. They played Carolina.
Carolina, who wasn't Carolina of today.
No, Rob Brind'Amour was still playing hockey.
Rob Brind'Amour and Kevin Weeks, I think, were playing. And
Peter Laviolette was the head coach, actually.
Jeff O'Neill was in that as well. Like just a bunch of old guys who are all,
Mark Recchi played for the Hurricanes.
Who didn't he play for? He was a slut.
True. Yeah, he was. That's true. But yeah, I completely forgot all about that Cup final. That's when they still wore those boring navy and gold or whatever, like muted orange jerseys or something like that. I think Ryan Smith was on that team.
I was gonna say Ryan Smith was like either their captain or like he was he was still a big deal there.
Ty Conklin was a goalie.
Ty Conklin. Most forgettable Stanley Cup final, I think, in history.
I don't know. The Anaheim-Ottawa one's pretty forgettable, too.
That one is very forgettable as well.
Series. Yeah, at least the Edmonton-Carolina one went 7 games. Like, at least we had that. The Anaheim-Ottawa one was pretty forgettable, too, because that was just...
We all just remember Anaheim winning.
Yeah.
Not who they played.
Yep. But yeah,
was that the year? Did they have Wade Redden that year, Ottawa?
Red was probably there. Yeah, I don't think he was in New York yet.
Okay, that's what I was. I'm trying.
Let's remember some guys too. There's some guys up there. I think the goalie was Emery was the goalie.
Emery was the goalie, and then was this when Alfie wasn't with them anymore?
No, he was.
He was there.
Yeah, that was his. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, crazy that there's a few that are just. I mean, that'd be a cool one now. A lot would have to happen for those teams to get back to a Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, But I mean, yeah. So they have been in the final since the '90s. So yeah, my bad there. Just forgettable final. There.
I don't think anyone would hold that against you for not remembering that because of just how obscure that was and how boring that was. Not Edmonton, boring, just forgettable.
Hopefully we don't have any Edmonton or Carolina listeners.
Probably not.
To get mad at me. If you do, email gbhana@gmail.com. And you can, I'll read them there. But no, I mean, Dallas, they won a cup. I think Florida's the only team remaining that does not have a Stanley Cup. A Dallas-Florida series would be a banger.
Oh yeah.
I think anything involving Florida would be an absolute banger because you just never know. They play on an edge, a very sharp edge, a very fine edge. Sometimes they cross it, sometimes, but it's going to be enough to tick you off if you're an opposing fan.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah, that Tkachuk dude. If you don't like Tkachuk, he's going to be annoying you every time that the camera's on him.
And Tkachuk has the history with Calgary too, so him playing against Edmonton would be quite something as well.
They just need Cassian back in Edmonton.
Yeah. Cassian or Lucic shows up for that series.
Or Raffi Torres even.
Oh man, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time either.
I follow him. He's always at the Edmonton. He's like practically the mayor of Edmonton. He's always at the games.
Ryan Whitney's like, I don't know if you follow Ryan Whitney or anything, but he's like hardcore Oilers. I know he played for him, but like he's like on the Oilers. He's like riding the Oilers hard. And it's kind of he like lives and dies by every goal. He's like a true fan. Like he has like his emotions are so volatile during the game.
I think he's a fraud because he was always a Penguins guy. And then once the Penguins kind of started their little fall from grace, he's like, you know what? And he always talked about people in Edmonton hated him. He hated Edmonton. And then they started getting really good. And he's like, I'm an Edmonton fan now. But, you know, he played in the league, so you can pick and choose whatever team you want to be a fan of if you wore the jersey.
Yeah, if you have a little leeway when you have experience and you play in the league and you wear the jersey. But, yeah, I didn't realize Edmonton fans hated him. That was kind of weird. I knew he was past his prime already when he was in Edmonton pretty much. So
his prime he didn't have the biggest prime window.
No, but also he played on Edmonton when they were really bad. So there's probably a lot of players from those teams that Edmonton hates. Were, I mean, that's when they were going through there. We're going to give you like 4 first-round picks and you're still not going to be good for like 5 years. So
dude, their first overall pick history just boils my blood. How do you not capitalize? I mean, do you know how many probably, I would say they would, I will guarantee you they would have had a cup by now had they kept at least 1, 2 or more of Eberle, Taylor Hall. If they didn't draft Nail Yakupov first overall, the story on that, if you don't know how he got picked first overall by the Edmonton GM is insane. He played a video game with his son one time. He babysat his son and he was just like, this is my guy. And he picked Nail.
Because Nail Yakupov was, he played in the OHL, so he was already in the United States. But like, if you like that was the draft that was actually in Pittsburgh. If you go through that draft, like Yakupov was 1, Ryan Murray was 2, Galchenyuk was 3, Griffin Reinhart was 4.
Didn't they end up trading for Griffin Reinhart?
Did Reinhart play he did play for the Oilers at one point, yes. He is now currently playing over with he is in Belfast, closer to our friend Edward. So Edward, if you see Griffin Reinhart, tell him.
Give him a tip of the cap.
So really Morgan Riley was the 5th overall pick. Again, if you're redrafting this, Trouba was 9. Philip Forsberg was 11.
I mean, Philip Forsberg, they could use a Philip Forsberg.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, like, it's just very
weird. Morgan Riley. I mean, Morgan Riley would be an upgrade over, like, I know Cody Ceci plays the right side. Dude, yeah, I mean, Darnell Nurse has the physicality and everything that Morgan doesn't have, but, like, that team, you can get a physical bottom pairing guy if you need it and not pay him $9.5 million a year. If you have Bouchard and Ekholm and then you have a second pairing of like Morgan Riley and some form of a shutdown right shot D there. I mean, you got that's a good puck moving first two pairings on D. I don't know. How do you not keep Jordan Eberle?
Yeah, Eberle, he's still in Seattle, right?
He's still in Seattle, and he's still scoring goals.
Or he went to the Islanders for a while. He scores against the Penguins all the time.
Penguin killer.
Yes, he is now in Seattle. He was an expansion draft selection. The Penguins. This is the year the Penguins picked 8th overall. After they traded.
Mata?
No, this was Oli was 22. Pouliot was the 8th pick. Yes.
What a bot! That guy I wish he panned out.
Oh, dude, I was certain he was going to pan out. But they passed up on. They could have had Trouba.
Trouba was the Wouldn't that pick. Have been a turn of events?
Forsberg was 11th. Hurdle was 17th. Vasilevsky was 19th. Teravainen was 18th. They did draft Mata, who was very solid in Pittsburgh.
He fell off hard.
Yeah, he did. He
did. I don't think I wouldn't be shocked if he's out of the league in a year or two.
He did.
Philip Forsberg on Sidney Crosby's line for like 10 years would look really good. I think that they would work really well together.
Jacob Slavin was drafted. That's like, I'm getting into the late rounds now. I'm just kind of, Hellebuck was drafted in the 5th round. Linus Olmark was in that year.
All these lottery tickets.
Yeah, that's what it. I mean, after the first round, it's basically. I mean, even the first round is basically lottery tickets. Like, it's just Hampus Lindholm was in this draft, but hey, we kind of got off track there. We're talking about the Oilers' number 1 overall picks, and we're just like talking about the 2012 NHL. Edmonton,
the Oilers, though, with their first overall pick history, it's inexcusable. And now you're like, dude, the fact that they have Evander Kane is because he was a scumbag in San Jose. That's the only reason why they were able to sign a competent, rugged wing, a power forward. Let's just call it a power forward. That's the only reason why they can afford him, is because he got essentially bought out of his contract or contract terminated for being an idiot. Let's just call it what it is. And he's putting on his best behavior in Edmonton because he knows that it's either this or he's going to Russia to try to finish his career out. Corey Perry, I know he's been in and out of the lineup as of lately, but Corey Perry's only there because his contract got terminated in Chicago. Ken Holland is just picking up, he's just picking up what he can for what he can.
Just picking up spare parts,
spare parts, and they're putting it all together, and they're just hoping and praying that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl can just drag these guys into some sort of success in the playoffs. And this is the best year for them to do it. I think that they've got that Holloway kid and McLeod. They've got some of these younger guys, and I would throw Bouchard in there too, that are adding to that, that depth scoring. Bouchard is a number 1 puck mover type defenseman on the power play. He's just a killer. This is their year, I think, because I think that they could probably compete in the future, but like, how do you survive the media this summer if their whole mantra this year has been cup or bust, literally?
It's going to be very interesting. I mean, again, you never really bat your eye at making a conference final. It's not easy to do, especially in the West. But man, like, if you don't, again, questions until they lift a cup, the questions are going to be asked, whether they lose in the first round or lose in the Stanley Cup final. That's just how it's going to be. But man, like, the path was there for you. You did not have a hard path to get here. Again, Dallas is obviously a very good hockey team, no doubt about that. But man, again, until they win a cup, until McDavid raises a cup over his head, the questions are going to be asked. And it's probably unfair because, again, he can't do everything. And in the end, in the playoffs, you need everything to gel together. And when Darnell Nurse and Cody Ceci are on the ice, Dallas is just burying them. Stuart Skinner is a fine goalie. He's not the other 3 goalies in the NHL right now, especially not his counterpart, Jake Ottinger. Again, Ottinger hasn't been spotless by any means, but man, at some point, it just has to come together. I don't know. There's no other way to say that. We lived that as Penguins fans for many years, even though they'd won the cup in 2009. I mean, the Penguins won a cup early in this generation, and until they won again in 2016, there was a solid 2 or 3 years where there was talk about blowing up the core. I mean, thank goodness they didn't. I'm not saying that the team ever took that seriously,
but they needed a transition. They realized there needed to be a transition of. They're so fortunate they were able to contend and then win when Sid was just coming off his ELC, when Gino was he still on his ELC when they won in 2009?
He would have been. I think he would have been in the final year.
I think.
I'm pretty sure he had already signed his extension.
Yeah, it was in place, but
he didn't. The money didn't kick in until the 29-10
or no, maybe it wouldn't have, because I think did he sign his ELC? Actually, I can't remember now. Those years all get kind of muddled together.
I can look it up here. 08-09 was the final year of his ELC. His first significant contract kicked in 2009-10, the year they lost to the Montreal in the playoffs. That lasted until 2014 when he signed. He actually signed in 2013, but his next contract kicked in 2014. Gotcha. He signed his big extension on July 2nd, 2008. So, but he won the cup still playing on his ELC, which, I mean,
he won the Conn Smythe.
He won the Conn Smythe making less than $1 million.
Dude, like that's how you got to do it. The Penguins were like they did right by Sid and Fleury and Gino and the vets that were there. They had this core and they're like, we need to surround. They were pulling the right strings, and that's hard to do. Like, you see every year teams think they're pulling the right strings to help get their team that are in the playoffs over the hump.
And Chris Letang was still on his ELC too when they won.
Unreal. Chris Letang wasn't the number 1 D guy then, but still a contributor.
But, I mean, Sergei Gonchar is making $5 million. Like,
yeah,
you don't get one top pairing defenseman for $5 million in today's NHL. Unless you find a diamond in the rough, it doesn't happen. And again, the cap it's much different now. But there was still a salary cap back then. Like, it was still very. I mean, now Fleury was on a second contract. Crosby had just started a second contract. Crosby's second contract was 8.7, exactly what he's making now. So it wasn't really. Sidney Crosby's cap hit's been 8.7 since 2009.
I know,
2008. That's insane.
crazy.
And if you look at what some of these guys are getting paid now, it's just absolutely bananas. But again, you earn it, you deserve it. I'm not complaining about it like that, but it's pretty insane when you think about it. I'm trying to see here real quick here. Fleury would have been getting paid in 2009. His cap had been $5 million, which is high for a goaltender.
That is high for a goaltender.
Yeah.
A lot of these goaltenders now, especially if you're not, Hellebuck or something, you're making, Casey DeSmith, lucky to make Jari money. Casey DeSmith money probably more so 2 to 3 years.
I forgot that Fleury, he signed a bridge deal.
Oh, he did.
And then he was actually, I'm trying to say, I don't know, assuming that free agency started July 3rd, he was technically an unrestricted free agent in 2008 before he signed a long-term deal in Pittsburgh. I don't recall that. I'd have to look at the exact.
You would have thought there would have been buzz about that. Like, that would have been a big story.
And maybe it was. I just completely memory hold that. I could have absolutely memory hold that as well. But no, that's about all I got, Snail. We kind of drifted on tangents, talking about different drafts and Penguins salaries and all that fun stuff. But all
I got to say is, all I want to wrap up our last conversation is that they've got Nugent Hopkins there in Edmonton. They've got McDavid. They've got Draisaitl, who needs a new contract. He can sign on July 1st, which will be 5 days after they hand out the cup.
Yeah.
If they don't make a cup final, it's going to be loud in Edmonton, and that's the last thing that those like McDavid and Draisaitl, they get snippy with the media up there.
Yeah.
It's the last thing they want. If they win the cup this year, I could see some of them saying, peace out, I'm done with the Canadian market. Draisaitl could go and take his he could go do what's best for him and find his way out of there. I'd be curious to see what the trickle-down effect will be once this all happens. But quickly, you said you think Dallas is coming out of this series, right?
I just think it's just with 2 games at home. I think I give Ottinger the edge over Skinner.
Absolutely.
I just feel like it could be 7 games, but I still feel like it's I'm going Dallas. I picked it from the beginning. I'm sticking with Dallas, Florida.
I think it's going to be Dallas and Florida as well. The only way I see it not happening is because we haven't had I know he's got all the points in the playoffs, but there hasn't been a game where McDavid just goes full McDavid and takes over the game and has a hat trick and hat trick and 6 points type of night, McDavid night. That hasn't happened yet. But if they have that in the tank, you never know. They could McDrysaddle. They could put on a clinic one game and absolutely steal one, and then it's a kind of a coin flip. So, a part of my heart hopes that maybe Canada can have a little bit of something with Edmonton in a cup final. But like you, Robbie, I think Dallas is the best team poised to take down a Florida. I think they have the depth, the defense. They have a massive hole on that third pairing. I think that Yanni Hockenpah, who's a pretty big, kind of like an Alexiak, kind of like a Gabranson type player. He hasn't played, I don't think, in the playoffs. And they had that Niels Lundqvist guy who I think actually used to play in New York, and they got Alex Petrovich trying to fill that in. If they don't have that guy and they don't have Tanev going forward, all bets are off for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, again, it could be completely anything can happen in the playoffs, but you will find out tonight. Game 5 is tonight, the 31st. So this will be by the time this publishes, you already know what the situation is there. And then Saturday, we know we're getting to Game 6 in both series. So Saturday and Sunday, there still will be hockey. Florida, New York on Saturday night. Florida can close it out, and then whoever wins Game 5 between Dallas and Edmonton can close out that series on Sunday night in Edmonton. So stay tuned for that. But Snail, we've been talking for about 55 minutes about hockey. I got nothing else. You have anything to wrap up this episode before we say goodbye?
I'm pretty much ready to say goodbye, but I wanted to see, Robbie, have you ever had these before?
Hold on. No, I've seen them, but I never had them.
Dude, these are so good. These are so good. These are the best potato chips out there.
Just the ketchup, or like there's the actual brand?
Oh, the ketchup ones.
Oh, okay.
Ketchup or all dressed?
Ooh, all dressed sounds good.
All dressed is like they're a little bit more like barbecue vinegary.
Okay.
But that's all I got, Robbie. We'll
We'll
look out for that tweet on Sunday for next week's mailbag.
As always. So for Snail, I'm Robbie. We will talk to you guys next week.